Go live. I was waiting for Cubicle Nate to show up. Novel concept. So, yeah. No, I use OBS. I use OBS as and stream that. I could do like secondary computers and all that, the other jazz that I could do, but gather review. So we are here to talk about end of the year Linux stuff. It's kind of a post or pre, I should say, how the year went video before it actually ends. So, Nate, I am curious, why did you decide to do that with your Christmas lights? What brought that about? Give the real one. And no, that's cool. And the fact that Linux helped you do that, for those that don't understand, Linux is Nate's happy place. So the fact that he can tie that, like, that shows like just how much of a happy place that puts him in a mind frame. That's really cool. I think that certain aspects is some people wouldn't get on like a DLN or anything. Nate, just an FYI. I don't think they would get that kind of insight into you on like a on a yeah on a regular show. That's why I like these. Except for there's no paternity tests. Oh, only if I had certain people on. But all right, so who would like to go first about? I'm gonna probably Leon's. I'll let you go. As far you're the newer of the stack of Linux users, so that would be you down below. Whoa, the guy below me. You.
And the year of Linux has been kind of slow, I would say. This year, like the years I've heard about Linux before and the Linux community up until I got my first distribution, Fedora, on my computer, it was awesome. But I have to say, it's been a slow year for Linux. It's just been slow and more of a branding time than a building time, I would say.
Yeah, good. It's a cool idea. It's really good. It's the
Right.
same perception I have here
Yeah.
in Brazil. Um, so I I'm the next one. Okay. I'm a more experienced guy with Linux. I use Linux since I believe that the 20.0. If, but I full time, not on dual boot or anything else. I'm using Linux since 26. I still do some distro hopping, but basically I'm focused more on Arch based systems. I'm not my main box where we are talking now. I'm using Endeavor. I use Endeavor on my other boxes. My DE I use it also had most I had some D desktop environment hopping, but my main one is KDE. I use OpenBox on a more short on a box with short resources. On my work, we use Ubuntu and GNOME, but okay, it's business, it's for an environment, is our policy, so no problem for me. I'm a little agnostic on this. I use KDE here on my main box because it's more stable on the idea that it works. Not it's the best, not as the most cutting edge, but it works. I believe that there's some in other DEs you can find simpler with less resource consumption and with more cutting edge features, but KDE works. It works plain, it works fast, it just works. For me, it's okay. And I agree with Safri
Sapphire. Sapphire.
Sapphire. Sapphire. I agree with Sapphire. Here in Brazil, we have this. I have this perception also that not only Linux but free open source software in general, it's on that stabilization phase. It grew. Now we need to stabilize and we need to work to do things more stable, more resilient, more ease for user. As someone that used from the time that you needed to build kernel make the to make the soundboard works, I can say that Linux had run a great a great race until we have now. We need now we need some time to stabilize everything.
Yeah, I agree.
Very much. And with that, so Sapphire, what is your take as more of the like what? Because I'm assuming you're coming from either Mac or Windows.
I'm coming from Windows.
What is your take when you kind of make that jump? Because like we've heard Jason's take, and he's obviously been writing tech and all that stuff forever and a day. So I'm curious to actually see what newer users feel about that, because I know Nate talks about from that perspective a lot, is like kind of like the hey, I'm the new user and all the other stuff, and like especially for the OpenSUSE guy.
Well, actually, well, first off, I jumped to Linux to start building LFS because I found the book and I was really curious about it. So, in context, I've been pretty tech wanted for all my life. I jumped because I wanted some more ability to work on my tech as well as graphical and other kinds of design. But the jump to Linux was easier than I thought. On Fedora, where I started at Fedora 29, uh, jumping I jumped without a single clue as what to do. I never looked at any manuals beforehand. I didn't look at anything. I just threw the ISO, extracted the ISO onto my flash drive and ran it on my computer. And the jump was not that bad. And the first introductions were really good. That's why I prefer GNOME over some GNOME 3s, because it was kind of what I started off with. And it's what I got to understand first.
Yeah, it's good to, because I was remember how I started. I
Right.
I was as I said, I started with in the time, as we say here in Brazil, I started when you need to build kernel to make your sound card works. I
Right.
started with Slackware 96, I believe.
Fair enough.
So, Nate, my question for you is, what is your take on Linux in this year?
In this year,
Yeah.
well,
No. For Nate, like Nate, what's your take on
oh, sorry.
I
where?
would say, to me, 2019 is the year of completion. And what I mean by that is like all the last little bits, like my little edge cases of what has kept me using Windows, at least partially, has all, like, those have all been closed up now. I literally have no reason for, on a personal level, not work, but work, I still have to use Windows. For a personal level, I don't have to use Windows. I can do design work, like mechanical design work now in Linux using Fusion 360 on Lutris. So Lutris is my is what allows me to do this. I can do electrical circuit design. I can do video editing, audio editing, pretty much anything that I need to do or want to do, I can do in Linux. There's not anything like, if you like, I can't think of one case where I can't do it in Linux. Like, I can't do what I want to do in Linux. And this is the year that I can finally say Linux is come full circle. I don't need Windows anymore at all. I don't, I'm done with you. Here are my papers. We're done. So
Right.
actually that's kind of personal. Anyway, as far as
Oh, you're not giving yourself enough credit for that, Nate. You're you literally built. Like I said, you're not giving yourself enough credit. I don't think. and Hold on, guys. Something's going on. Yeah. Let me figure. Actually, it's not a no. Hey, Nate.
Who did Slackware, Arch, Debian, you name it, basically. I don't believe that is the one Linux to rule them all. There's no such thing.
No, it better not be.
Okay.
I don't. I wouldn't want that. That'd be just silliness.
I don't want
Without-
it too.
No. I think the beauty of Linux is the diversity of ideas.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that's kind of what I
Yeah.
say.
And even though I think you could have some more synergy if you had fewer distributions, I don't like that at all, because if you have a project that you enjoy, a passion project, and it means you're going to create your own like Farron OS or something like that, and even though maybe you could put your talents towards another distribution, I want Farron OS Dev, whatever his actual name is his name Farron? I don't know. I want him to keep going down and developing and working on his ideas, even if they're not what I like. I want him to polish those out and flesh those out, because
Right.
That-
Same.
it would be, a wonderful thing to, for him to express Linux the way he sees fit. So
Right.
that's what I think anyway. I mean, call me crazy, but that's what I want him to do that. It's, also like if you work
Yeah.
if you work on something
Right,
else and he has
no.
no passion for it, then what's the point?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's I also build Linux distributions from time to time. I'm working on my own Ubuntu flavor, and I'm working on an LFS project myself, but both are passion projects. Both are out of passion. Out of
Yeah.
passion for the project.
Yeah, I believe that is the very important thing behind free open source, because it's not only the tech, it's about the passion also. We see lots of projects that this is someone striving based on the passion of those working on it. For example, I recently joined Scuttlebutt. That's I don't know. It's a very cool idea for a decentralizing social network, and I think, wow, that's very good. And I'm looking on it now, and it's very interesting. And I believe that this is the essence behind the what as I said, we see from all the time we could see that this what made Linux be more than a pet project, so to speak, and became a thing that I don't believe that someone had no use for Linux at all in any time in a day. His cell phones, his routers, he's in Big Iron, in system machines, single boards, and so.
I was gonna say, yeah. Don't tell the Linux diehards that Android's Linux.
Android's based on Linux kernel,
no,
but it is not Linux.
Okay, you can. It's Linux kernel. No, you can see that. You can see that Linux kernel. The all the other things, it's up to discussion. But anyway,
Nate, pick a side of the face to slap.
Let me just say my 3 cents on that, because inflation.
okay. No, but anyway.
So I think Android is Linux. However, it is an abomination.
Oh,
And then-
okay.
but
You have a point.
Lineage OS, when you strip out all of the garbage out of Android, is not bad. I don't mind it. I mean, it's still neutered Linux, it's still, but it's not. It's
a Linux base with a Java VM.
Yeah.
That's what it is. But
Okay.
But no, actually, probably anything related to Google and Linux, the closest thing you're probably going to get is Chrome OS, if you want to consider it Linux, and even that is a little iffy.
Yeah.
Chrome OS is
Well-
based on Gentoo, but it is not.
That's why I
It's
said.
not-
That's why I said.
it's-
Yeah.
That's why I said iffy. But yeah,
The
at
problem
the end,
with Chrome,
is Chrome.
Yeah,
Right.
it's Chrome.
the Chromebooks have a depressingly stupid keyboard, and I cannot stand any Chromebook keyboard because they're missing function keys. They don't have a caps lock. They're just stupid. I don't
Right.
like them.
No. If the keyboards were fixed, I would probably be mildly okay with a Chromebook.
I'd be okay. The keyboards weren't stupid, but I won't use a Chromebook because they're. I mean, I have a Chromebook. I shouldn't say I won't use one. I have one because I do testing on it for some other purpose. But I think they're terrible.
How dare you be
Yeah,
practical? We don't do practicality. Oh wait, yeah, we do. Sorry.
Well,
For those that are wondering, my particular environment is a mixed environment. I live in Windows. I live in this ugly, ugly thing that has the half-bitten fruit on it, and I live in Linux. So I am the abomination of the Linux YouTuber community.
oh,
Nah, use what I have Windows sitting right there,
You also have an Amiga.
right there. Actually, I have 3 right here, and a
An
Commodore
Amiga.
64, and then under here I have an Apple IIc.
Whoa.
But so I find it interesting when people come to Linux, especially in such a short time frame. The fact that you, Sapphire, jumped into Linux from scratch, that's
Well,
What-
I jumped into Linux from scratch because I've always been interested in building kernels and compiling things. I've always been into programming and technology.
there's Gentoo and Arch.
Right, but I didn't. I got intimidated by those really quickly. I never even put them on a USB. I just left them off at.
but yet you still went with Linux from scratch
Yeah.
over those.
No.
Right, but that's because I can do it in a host system.
Gotcha. Okay, makes sense. VMs are great.
Right.
But so when you made that jump, what was your take on something like GNOME? Like the vanilla flavor of GNOME that you're gonna get on like a Fedora install.
Okay, so I know not a lot of people like GNOME 3, and after using pretty much every desktop on the planet, I like others more than GNOME 3, but it's actually, in my opinion, not bad, and it's good for the beginner of Linux. It's good for somebody who's just now getting into Linux, is just now getting into the idea of Linux. And I think that's where it kind of stands with other other desktop environments such as Cinnamon and others.
GNOME is kind of like the Android of Linux too. I think it's that Java.
It is. It
that-
definitely is, but it's
Java
also at
base.
the same time better. It's better than GNOME. I would have to say is not like the Android of Linux. It's more of the.
I'm gonna call it Chrome OS.
It's the Chrome OS of the entire OS world. It's good for some, but it's not completely perfect for everybody or every purpose.
Yeah.
I would have to describe it like that.
But your take was it was easy enough to navigate and
It was easy enough to navigate. It was easy enough, and I do like some of the aspects of it, like the application menu. That I still like. The dock, I do have to modify every single time because I hate it.
Budgie. Sorry.
Right.
But so it sounds like you've had an interesting journey in the last course of a year or so.
Right. It has been an incredibly weird journey.
So I guess my question to everybody would be like, what's been the one thing out of this entire year Linux related, either personal or news story? Nate, I know you cover most of the news story stuff now, but sorry. But what has been the biggest thing that you think has either helped, hindered with Linux in news or tech or whatever
On this year.
this year?
Okay. I guess that for me the main one, as I said, I work with Series Z, and so I believe that the main one I could say that was IBM acquiring Red Hat.
Right.
because, as we said, being 20 this year is a completion year for Linux. I believe that in this time, that was the time that people said, okay, Linux is a reality. You can you can shun, you can hate, but you can't ignore no more.
Right.
Linux is here to stay.
Linux is here.
Because when IBM put his hand on a thing, he puts to play big and he puts to play strong. You can say everything else for IBM, but not that he don't play hard and don't under the rules.
Right. Personally, I didn't agree with the IBM acquisition of Red Hat until I started thinking that
Yeah, that's okay.
you're talking to the business world. You're talking to the software engineers of the world. You're talking to the public world. This is a message to everybody that Linux is actually good and that there are options and that it's big, it's reasonable. It can be used, if it can be used for enterprise, it can be used for public use.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good vision. It's a good idea because people, as I said, I think that IBM, as with acquired Red Hat, became for me personally the news for Linux in 2019. It's because he shows for everyone. Okay, it's like okay, Ferrari is working with electrical motors, so to speak, electrical engine. Because when you see this, it's okay. It's a reality. It's a good idea. It works, and when you see someone that big joining the going fast, so big to acquire an open source based business, you give somewhat a new message for the market. Come on. It's good.
The thing is like if you IBM buying a Linux distro essentially or maintainer company, whatever you want to call it, you know, I mean they have jQuery, they have not jQuery, JBoss, and they have a bunch of middleware stuff that they use on IBM Z servers and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Along with RHEL and et cetera, you know, CentOS and all the other nonsense that Red Hat does. But it wouldn't have surprised me if they had say went and bought SUSE too at one point. Sorry, Nate. But my point is like they've had over 20 years almost of supporting Linux in various ways and open source projects and et cetera. So them buying an open source company essentially didn't really surprise me all that much. But what does surprise me is whether or not, because IBM has a history like an old version of Microsoft, let's put it that way, of trying to assimilate a company, and that company that is trying to assimilate ends up having the culture of the bigger company. And the one thing you're going to lose if IBM has not the best corporate culture and Red Hat is a smaller company with like 1,200 people, something like that. I can't remember the exact employee count, but how is that going to mesh with that? The fact that they paid $34 billion for it is kind of a statement of like where Linux is valued at. You know, not that long ago, Microsoft almost went for broke trying to buy Yahoo for 41. So,
right.
Yeah.
But so Nate, what would you say is your biggest thing that like surprised you, or you know, considered like the Linux landscape?
I have to say that real quick to Fabio. I was told to say that Flamengo is best.
No. To be fair, I need to say here for a disclaimer. I'm not the standard Brazilian. I'm using my São Paulo jersey because it was the first on my close by, because I'm not so much. I'm not so much on soccer / football. I'm more on rugby, to be fair.
Okay.
Fair enough.
I just had to say that. So I'm sorry. What's the question again, Matt?
Okay.
Nate, my job is to troll, not you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, I got a troll whispering in my ear right now. Is the thing. Well, actually whispering on my Telegram.
Okay.
What is in this past year has really surprised you in the Linux landscape? Not just like whether or not it's complete or can compete in that kind of phrase, but like news stories or like project advancement and that kind of stuff.
What has surprised me? That's a good question. I don't think anything's really surprised me. I mean, it just seems everything just the world keeps churning. I think the one thing, and I don't know if we're allowed to talk about this on this channel. I know some we're not, but Stallman stepping down. Nothing he said surprised me, but that whole thing was kind of interesting. I mean, I don't really care, but because I'm definitely not on the Stallman side of pretty much.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
It's funny the cameras on the other side nearby were also not working apparently too.
And
So
the
it's
guard
really
and the
coincidence.
guards were both asleep.
Yeah.
And he was on suicide watch. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, not
Well,
going down the conspiracy theory route.
Well, he did have some friends that people tend to die around. So I mean, who knows? It just a lot of people commit suicide.
True.
It just happens.
But yeah, the Stallman stuff was interesting.
Yep. And then I think the NVIDIA starting to recognize that they need to step up their open source game. That was also interesting.
Yeah.
I don't really care because I use AMD and whatever NVIDIA. I mean, cool. I mean, that's great. I like it. It's a good sign. Let's see, Disney Plus. But that wasn't Linux.
Oh, Disney Plus and on Linux. We need this for Mandalorian.
Yeah.
It works
Yeah.
now, so.
Yeah. So that's good.
No, I hear you. I think actually, honestly, I think the Huawei thing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that already. But yeah, Huawei. That's good news. I mean, wait. Which part? They're being told we can't. That being the embargo against them, or that they're going to Linux.
The Linux part.
Which actually one kind of changed.
Yeah. One chains into the other. Because I love the dichotomy of this. It's spyware. Like if it's Huawei equipment or if it's deep and proper, like the actual distro. And then I go, so you're using 90% of you here in the States are using an operating system that has known backdoors for the NSA that willingly cooperates with the NSA, and you're complaining about spying.
Well, it's who do you want spying on you, the U.S. government or the Chinese government? Which one do you feel?
I would prefer neither.
Well, of course.
It's
Of course.
actually it's a little complicated because everyone here is being spied somewhat by U.S., Russia, or China. Your choice.
Pretty much.
Oh, and maybe Israel. There's some
If you're lucky.
Or all four.
Yeah. All four is an option.
But I think at the end of the day, what that like the Huawei stuff, I think to me is probably the biggest motivator, because literally you can say what you want about them from a hardware point of view, whether or not they copy Apple, whether or not they're spyware, all the other nonsense. They're the second biggest phone OEM, and like the third or fourth biggest laptop OEM. You can't ignore it. And I'm sorry, anybody who doesn't like Huawei because it's from China, if you bought a Lenovo, shut the fuck up. So for me, it boils down to that means we have a major OEM besides Dell finally actually embracing Linux out of necessity, call it what you want, but at the end of the day, that means better drivers, that means better support, that means it opens up a whole new demographic and a whole new market for Linux.
For sure. for sure.
And like,
I
and what people tend to forget is that's like, you know, somewhere between an eighth and like 20% of the population on the planet is over there.
Right.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you because I need to I put my experience here. I use a Samsung laptop, and it's cool, has lots of memory, but he has a very loose hard drive, very loose, so loose that it crashed a lot, and anytime you need to do something that requires more I/O, it crashed. Pronto. I just put an SSD on my on the NVMe slot here, and it worked. But maybe the best it would be Samsung came okay. You have this desktop. We have this distro, Linux distro that works with it, and go on. That for me would be the best scenario. It's a pain in, as you say that you can swear, it's a pain in the ass to need to debug and guess what the piece of hardware that's crashing your system.
I think actually my troll that was in the ear. He's not really a troll, but Christoph is his name. He said that he thinks that the Linux community is more unified now than before. Things like Jason Evangelo's Linux for Everyone,
No,
and probably like
For
Biddle
sure.
and a few others have I think been doing a
For
lot
sure,
to
for
really
sure.
unify, to be
totally,
more,
totally.
different but unified. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I think
I like Snaps on OpenSUSE, an Ubuntu product on my OpenSUSE. What's wrong with that?
I
something.
I think that's where we're getting to though, where it's just like we're finally. I hate the term congealing, but like it's kind of true because like I use Snaps on Manjaro. I can build it if I want to, but I use Snaps, I use Flatpaks, I use app images. Why? Because
Works.
I can. Like at
Yeah.
the end of the day, I think that is a good point, Nate. That
Yeah.
because you go back even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, the Linux community was or Linux user base. I'll rephrase that because community is kind of a thrown out term too much. The Linux user base, the ones that were speaking were always the ones you didn't want speaking.
Yeah. I will give you somewhat polemic opinion here. I'm not that fond on Snaps, but I see the point you both talk, Nathan, and you both talk, and I believe that it's very important too. In my opinion, I'm not too fond about Snap because I feel that he flirts too much with the dependency hell problem from Windows. You install lots of I don't know. As I never use a Snap. Maybe I say something wrong here, but we'll bring all the kitchen with the package, and we'll have X versions of the same package. But in my opinion, it's not a good idea. But I see your point, and I believe that this is very important and very good to have snaps and to bring something that people just want to install. Okay, I want to install my Linux, no matter if it's Ubuntu, it's Fedora, it's Endeavor, it's whatever.
Well, see, and that's the thing. Like, Nate, weren't you trying to be like all flat packy or whatever for a while? Like, or was that no? Sorry, that was Chicken. He was trying to gut his system of snaps and trying to use nothing but flat packs. My thing is like my understanding anyway is snaps are basically a self-contained application in and of itself. So like you pull it down, all the libraries, all that stuff, they don't share stuff. It doesn't have the DLL problem because it doesn't have the linked libraries. All the libraries are its own thing. So that's why you can have multiple instances of different applications and all that stuff. Now that's like a very high, broad overview and understanding of it. Like it's a lot more technical, and Alan Pope will probably kill me for not getting into the nitty gritty of it. But like, sorry, Popey. But I think the maturing of the Linux voice is probably the biggest thing that I've seen this year. You got people, more willing to accept the differences of a different distribution, of a different desktop, or of a X, Y, or Z. You got Destination Linux, who you got one guy that's a Plasma guy, and you got an XFCE guy, and they're just like, you're using Linux, we don't care.
No more holy wars.
No more RTFM as the default answer. It might be an answer, but it's not going to be the default answer. And not that it really matters, because Das Geek doesn't know what RTFM is, because that would require him to actually read a manual.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And yes, Nate, you can poke fun at Ryan about that all you want. You're muted. You're muted.
Which aspect of Ryan can I pick on for that?
I meant everything. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, yeah,
one giant target.
Well, I mean, I like his. And this is gonna be. I mean, I like XFCE. All right, I do. Next to Plasma, I think XFCE is best. My opinion.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Because it's very customizable, but it does just feel a little more dated. It's a little less. It doesn't have that same kind of newness that Plasma has to it. And
he doesn't have the swag.
Right. Yeah. So he had that video on making XFCE pretty. I'm like, awesome. Now it looks like Plasma 10 years ago.
So KDE4.
Yeah, he brought up the KDE4. That's good. It's progress. Nothing against XFCE. I like it.
Or XFCE could do that by making GTK3.
And I think the GTK3 was a good move. It made for a lot of compositing and it got rid of the tearing and everything else.
It did. And as much as I might poke fun of GTK and all the other stuff, I like a lot of the GTK stuff. Some of my favorite desktop environments are actually use components of GNOME. Might not use GNOME, but use components of it. But I think that's the thing. We're getting into a point now where I think we're just more accepting of, and less of like, my distro can beat up your distro. My DE is better than your DE. It's like, who cares? Are you at the core of it? Are you using Linux? Yeah. Okay.
Card or Kirk? Who would win in a fight like that?
Okay.
Just go watch. What is it? Generations, and I'll leave it at that.
My 2 cents on that is, I don't care even if you use Windows, FreeBSD, or whatever. As long as you like it and you can get your work done on it, then I say, good on you.
Yeah,
that's what you need, and that's what you are going to use.
I was going to say, I think we've gotten to the point where the practicality voice and the pragmatic voice is the one that is actually being the one that is spoken louder than the ones that are ideologically driven. You can still have ideology, but you don't have to bash it over people's heads. And I think that is where the community is. That's where I feel the community's kind of grown up.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a great. I believe that people grow and notice that we had problem because people start to fight. Okay, my IDE is good. My text editor is good. My programming language is good. Then we need to know. Okay, what it's what. Sapphire said. it works. Okay, it does the job. Go on, does the job.
Right.
That's the
Because I am
biggest
very
thing.
much, I am very work oriented, and that's kind of why I say if it can do the job, that is what I use.
Hmm.
Same here, because I know for like this machine that I use, this is an old EliteBook 8760W. Like you're talking like 6 years old or some crap now. It does what I need it to though. Like
Right. I think I have a similar. I think I have another. I have another Elite book, and I think it's that model.
yeah, the big old
But
17-inch
it just.
PP. Yeah.
I think I actually got the 15-inch. So. You know, it's still-
846, 856.
it's a 15-inch, and
Yeah.
it's an Elite book. That's all I know,
But
and it's a bit older.
but my point is like I don't use this has two bays. One has a Windows drive in it, and one has a Linux drive in it. This machine literally sits on Linux the entire time, and I do all my streaming on it. I do all my editing on it. I do all my video review. This is my production machine. If this was
Right.
5 years ago, even I could not say I could do video production and audio production quality wise on Linux.
Right.
I could do audio, but I couldn't do video.
Right, and that's something else I like about Linux is that my HP Notebook 14 has like no RAM, no processing power sometimes, and it's a pain in the ass to use when on Windows. Back when it was on Windows a couple days ago, back when I first got it. And so this thing being on Linux has sped it up, and I can actually be productive on it.
Yeah. I believe that the main problem here is exactly Linux. He used better resource from your machine. I have my experience. My father bring very old desktop. I've one of those Frankensteins you buy the piece and buy and mount yours, then build yourself. And he asked me to install Windows on it. Windows 7 because that machine would not support Windows 10. And to be fair, there's no drivers for that machine for Windows 7. He used the drivers from Windows XP. So
Right.
and it was a pain in the ass to install everything. To be fair, it's an experience that I don't want to have so soon again.
Fair enough.
Fair, I hear you. So with that, I honestly, what would you say is the biggest thing that you guys are expecting out of Linux in 2020? I'll let Nate go
What-
first on this. I'm curious to see what Cubicle Nate has to say about predictions for 2020 on Linux.
2020.
That's that's a tough one. I have to do predictions for the Destination Linux Network, and I've got 0 so far, and it's due to Michael tomorrow.
Spoilers.
So, spoiler, Michael, watch this in case.
I'll pull something out of my fanny, I'm sure. Anyway, trying to think here. So last year I predicted something effective. I think that Linux would start rising up as a maker, like you'd see, like makers just use it as their tool. That and there'd be a some major company would release something that will work in Linux, like a CAD CAM type program. Well, that didn't actually happen. However, Lutris and Fusion 360, that is a thing. So I was wrong about everything this year. So next year, what do I think is going to happen in Linux?
Well,
I think the Pine Phone is going to be a big hit. I think the Librem 5 is going to somehow make it through. I think somehow it's going to make it. Like they're going to fix it, and it's going to pull itself together, like I don't know.
About as
Like a
well
jellyfish.
about as well as mud dried in the sand, dried in the sun.
No, I think I think one or two things is going to happen with them. I got to decide which one, but I'm going to be on the positive side because it's Christmas and I'm not going to say anything negative.
I will.
I think they're going to pull them somehow. They're going to pull it together. They'll actually get the phone to do things like call people and SMS and have a decent battery life. I think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to get the apps ecosystem next year. I think we're going to see a lot of community support rally around the Pine phone. And I think you're going to see an OpenSUSE build for it.
Oh, okay. If I hope your prediction about Pinebook be right, because here in Brazil, I would love to have some Pinebooks here in Brazil, Pinebooks and Pine phones. He's a very good, for what I read, is a very good hardware, but here in Brazil, because it's prohibitive by now. What can I say that? I would say that for 2020, I could see. I believe that Linux will grow even more traction on the OEM. I believe that the biggest ones will give a look even more after all this Huawei problem, all this fuss, and say, okay, we need to have a plan B, or at least something that we could say, okay, we will do our job without any fuss from any government. And I believe that Linux will be a very important piece on this. I believe that you see Lenovo, Asus, Acer, all the OEMs at least giving a look and say, okay, there's an option. We'll do this option. You take it if you want. So not like Lenovo did on the past, that okay, we have this Windows laptop and it's your problem. Go ahead, we install, your problem. I believe that they will have real support, and this will be very important for the Linux ecosystem.
So I actually have 3 predictions. One is that Pine is going to grow into at least a decently sized actual manufacturer of products, consistent sales, and even some good profits to share off of. 2 would be that the Pine phone and the Librem and all of those would at least get some kind of traction, and that we will see more mobile OSs built for Linux. And my 3rd one is at the very least something for me to back off on and say, hey, at least I was right about one thing, and that is a new from source distribution at some point or another that is actually released to the public and not like built as a product, not as a kind of a passion project.
You mean like a Solus? Like another Solus?
Yeah.
So like a Solus or a Chaos or any of those kind of more boutique distros.
Can I give another one? I believe that one that will give also is the gaming will grow even more.
That is a given.
Yeah. No, but not on support via Lutris. No, will be native. They will bring things native, not on Wine or Lutris or whatever.
Right.
I know that we have some very big launchers: Return of Tomb Raider, Last of Us 1 and 2 now, but I believe that this is more stud case in my opinion. They are looking, okay, we do with this big hit that if doesn't go on, then okay, no problem. But I believe that the new games will be even more thinking on from the scratch to work also on Linux, native Linux. No, in this way I was thinking on more gaming traction.
Right.
Okay, so to multiple fronts. Mitchell makes a good point about in the chat about deepening. I don't know about Clear. Clear has a lot of issues, namely being Intel, because Intel can't even get its own dies right, let alone a Linux distro. Pop OS probably being finally hitting it like bigger is definitely something that I can see happening.
Right.
Easy anti-cheat. That depends if Epic gets its epic thumb out of its butt and actually decide to actually make it work.
I heard a rumor once, not too long ago, that Easy Anti-Cheat is currently being developed for Linux. Don't quote me on that. Please don't quote me on that. But it was a rumor I did hear that it was that there are at least a small team trying to build a Debian package for it.
That'd be nice because at least then you can then the other sources can pull from the deb package and pull in what they need to.
And therefore I can finally play games with my friends.
Yes, I know, right?
All of my games that I want to play with my friends use Easy Anti-Cheat if it's not Team Fortress 2 or Minecraft.
Yeah. I think basically the biggest thing I'm expecting is gaming as a whole to be a Linux thing more than it is. People are going to argue, oh, well, native or blah, 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 blah. Who cares? Can I play on Linux? I don't care if it uses Wine. I don't care if it's native. I don't care if it's Lutris. I don't care. The thing that people seem to forget is that you are literally playing a game, a thing that is meant for a completely different OS, built totally differently, and it is running at native performance on a completely foreign operating system.
Right.
That to me is absurdly awesome. And if we can't appreciate that tech and the fact that we reverse engineered what Microsoft can't even document, Microsoft's documentation of like how Wine works, like because Wine is trying to emulate all those API calls, Microsoft can't even document all that stuff. The fact that these guys got like 6,000 plus games to work is crazy.
Right. And that's thanks to the community. It's usually a lot of community installers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think, and I'm hoping that with that, Valve actually does a real effort this time with Steam machines.
Right. I hope they do make an actual Steam machine that does work.
I think that will be one of the biggest tests for gaming. Now, as far as the rest of the year, I think NVIDIA will be a little more friendly with the open source NVIDIA drivers and helping them, even if they only release some documentation, that's still a lot more than they used to do. So I think NVIDIA and probably gaming will be the biggest things this coming year. And for anyone, will there be a year of the Linux desktop? No, never. It will not happen. And I'll tell you why. Because the year of the Linux desktop is whenever a user can replace their current OS or currently what they're using. And it's kind of like the year of a Mac. If you can do what you need to on that OS, that's when it's a year of the Linux or insert OS here for you. Because
what does that even mean?
What?
I'm just curious.
What
does year of the Linux desktop mean, really? What was the original intent?
The original thing was it was supposed to take over Microsoft as like the #1 market share and all the other
the famous word domination bug issue.
But in reality, at the end of the day, if you can make Linux work for you, and it becomes like for me, I'm in Linux 95% of the time. My year of the Linux desktop happened many moons ago. That was my year of the Linux desktop. The question is, what is going to be other people's year of the Linux desktop? Will it be 2020? How many people? Jason Evangelo's year was 2019, basically for his year of the Linux desktop.
I would say 2004. No, then that'd be 2004.
Yeah. So Sapphire, you mentioned 2000. Well, we'll just throw it into January, but 2019 was basically your year of the Linux desktop. And that is totally cool. And I think the community needs to understand that that's really what it's about. It's not about, oh, we're gonna overtake Microsoft or Apple or no. It's about when you start making personal computing personal again.
Right.
Zero Theory says he thinks the desktops in general are on borrowed time. I don't agree with that one bit. Not at all. Sorry, Zero Theory. You're probably cool dude, but I don't think. I think you're way off target.
Zero Theory. I think you're. I think you're off a bit on that.
Because I mean, I could not do my work without on a tablet. I couldn't do it on a phone for Pete's sake. I mean, I would need more desktop to do my work more effectively. So I don't think that. No, I mean, because I need screen real estate. I mean, it doesn't matter how small they get. I still need a keyboard, and I still need.
Well, he's not. He's talking about like the actual processing units and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think there will ever be a day where, even one day, where the desktop itself will not be used.
So I've been watching Computer Chronicles on YouTube, and I've really enjoyed it. Like watching like 1983, 84. I'm 1985 right now, watching Computer Chronicles, and like how the desktop and the usage has changed and everything else. I'm right at the point where the Amiga was released and whatnot, as far as the computer history is concerned.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting to see how how things are changed, and how like speculation, how way off some of those experts were back then. So pretty much experts are always off. Just you know, I'm just gonna say it. They don't know anything. They're
They
just
don't know
speculating.
anything. They can only predict.
640.
This this oh God, what's his name? Schindler's his last name. Real funny guy, and he. But anyway, the point of that is like, there was the guy who started the Seagate hard drives.
Mm-hmm.
He said that the 5 1/4-inch disc was never going away. There's no way all the software is going to change to the 3.5 inch. It's never going to happen. It was really funny because people say things like, Google will never be unseat. YouTube nothing will ever replace YouTube. People say make these statements, and you know what? You're wrong, because nothing has ever lasted in the tech world ever. I mean, Linux is actually an anomaly, really. I mean, the fact that it's lasted, it's an anomaly.
It is.
So, and anyway, but the point of that is like, to say something is not going to exist or something is going to just change or whatever. I'm not sure phones are going to exist. Like a screen in your hand is even going to exist. You know, I don't know what's going to happen, but I don't think that you can make an absolute statement about any of that, because in order to get work done, you know, unless if the work goes away that requires it, you're gonna use that. And there's no work I do on a phone, none. I use it out of convenience to check something, but that can easily be replaced. I think a phone is on borrowed time. I think even a smartwatch is on borrowed time. I don't think those are technologies that they're so new. I don't know that they're even gonna stick around. Who knows? But a desktop, it's stuck around for 40 years now. I don't think it's going away.
I believe that the main problem here is that people want to see the convergence, wants to see that, okay, I have this, and this will do everything. As I said, I work with Big Iron, with System Z, and even them, IBM is pushing, creating things to connect mainframe with all the Linux and this personal computing systems, but at the same time they still have the same 3270 screen emulation. They are still, because some guys and some tasks demands that kind of work, way to work. And it's like, okay, which the best car? A Honda, a basic Honda, or a Ferrari?
Well, we know the answer to that. We're racing, right? How fast can we go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or is it how far can we go?
Yeah.
Try to put a Ferrari on a dirt track, and let's see what will happen.
You'll lose everything that's near the ground.
So, i.e., the entire car.
Basically, how I think of the situation, one last thought, is that
Go ahead.
it's like art, it's like grammar, it's like everything else. Everything changes, everything stays, everything goes away. That's just how it works.
Yeah.
I'm in the camp that it's more evolution. What we do and how we use things might change, i.e., the form factor. Like, if you look at computing generically 10 years ago, most people were looking at laptops. That was their thing. Like desktops were kind of going away, and they weren't the primary source of computing.
Right.
Laptops are now in that same stage that desktops are. They're not gone, and they're like in this weird like medium stage where a lot of people have them, but not everyone. A lot of people.
But you're still selling more today than you were than IBM sold of the 5150 in 1983. You're still selling more desktop PCs.
My point, though, Nate, is that for a lot of people, these things are their computer.
You're right.
Like this is their primary input device for computing. Because despite what we may think, this has a CPU.
Not computing.
Yeah.
Despite what we may think, it has a CPU, it has a screen, it has all the stuff in the internals that make it no more or no less than this thing, the thing we're recording on, or the big beefy bastard that sits under a desk.
Yeah. I see your point here. And I believe that is a good point. What I say is not more because there's things you can do on a cell phone. There's things you if you try to do on a cell phone, you'll be a pain in the ass. I say because if you go on Play Store here, you can install VI on your Android cell phone.
Well,
if you want,
I was gonna say, like, as an example, I can record a video on my cell phone. I can't record a video a la OBS, like on a quality or an overlay structure, like I could with on a decent sized laptop or a beefy desktop. That is where the difference in computing and needs for computing come in. I have different needs. Yes, I have shot videos from my phone. I hate shooting videos from my phone.
I know you. I know. I have this with photography. I don't like to take photos with my cell phone. I take only if I'm in the street. I say, okay, this thing is good, or this thing I need to send this thing for someone. Okay, photo. Okay, cell back. Photo taken. But if I go for a show or an event or for a holiday, I will take my camera. I will take my T6i and I will use it. But no matter, they are. I understand. I believe that this is the point because there's no fixed. I believe that the main thing is there's no fixed thing. You can use what is it. I believe that this is the main thing that made Linux survive because DE, for example, will go for OpenBox, Window Maker, KDE, XFCE, Cinnamon, Mate, Plasma, whatever you take the one that do the job for you and go with it.
Right. My example is in programming, like I often need C++ and C. I might need JavaScript. However, there have been times where I needed JavaScript. There have been times where I needed non-programming languages like HTML and Markdown and all of those. There have been times where I even needed Python. As much as I shit on it, I need Python sometimes. It all depends on the workflow. It's not based around popularity contests. It's based around what's actually useful.
Yeah.
And for what purpose.
And that's the thing. I think we're getting to a point with computing, whatever you want to call it, that things are going to be more purpose driven.
Yeah.
Right.
And general purpose. It might not be this form factor. It could be the Motorola Razr, which is the new fad, I guess if we want to call it that. Folding screens. Eventually you're going to get to the point of like folding components and everything else. the point is like computing and the form factors will always change. The needs of computing will never
Yeah.
change. It's just what you do for those needs and what allows you to get
Yeah.
those needs done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, for example, I like to say here, I have some friends here in Brazil that shuns COBOL because they call, oh, it's lousy language, it's old. You say, yeah, it's old and loose, and it thinks for everything beside what he was made to do. That works big, big systems, finance, and big processing systems. I believe that the main thing here is to integrate those things and into, okay, we have this need and that need, and we need to integrate this with that and make them talk.
Yeah. Oh, well, that's the thing. It's like, because I know here in the States now, for those that don't know, there's a good portion of a lot of ATM machines that are still running OS2.
We had this
Wow.
problem here in Brazil.
Yeah.
Here in Brazil, Banrisul, that is a state bank here in Brazil. It started with a project to drop out OS2 from JTMs.
And why did I just do that? I agree. Well, trying to figure out why OBS is being stupid at the moment. Yeah, Nate.
So, if you take as I said, if you take a router, we'll see, and you go and scrub some bits, you see Linux there. On cell phone, you see Linux there. On mainframe, you see Linux there. On the Raspberry Pi, you see Linux there. Linux is somewhere, he grows ubiquitous somehow.
I think Linux is for as much as we want to say that its open sourcey nature makes it kind of an Achilles heel at times because people can kind of just do whatever with it. It's also one of its strengths because people can do whatever they want with it. You can morph it and change it to what you need.
Right.
This basically the way I equate Linux is like it's like clay, and you're the clay maker. Make what you want, and that's the strength of it. But there's also a fragility to it because you can break it.
Right. I don't think Linux will fade. I don't think it will fade away as there are that there's DOS users still, that there are BSD users still. They might be micro communities. They exist, and on the off chance that something takes over Linux and gets bigger than Linux and is open source as well, or something like that, the thing to go about it is that Linux will not die after that. As such, FreeBSD will never die, or any other BSD or DOS or other OS. If it has a large enough community at one point, it will never die. Same with Windows, same with Mac, unless those two proprietary companies die.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe not die, but what about
Relevance.
beyond life support, perhaps?
Right, like
This can be, but not. I believe that not in the mid future.
I would have to agree. Nothing in the immediate future. If it does happen, it has to be good straight off of that, and it would probably not. It would probably take a long time before it even started catching up with Linux.
It's not just philosophy. See, here's where, God, I hate these philosophical crap questions. Basically, what it boils down to is it's a development philosophy. It's not a, the free as and beer crap philosophy that we get from the SFF's moron and of things. Hey, SFF, Free Software Foundation, when are we going to get heard that actually works? Because right now the only herd I see is all the ones that follow that group. But to answer what Zero Theory is saying is, you're right. It's a development philosophy, and that's the difference. This is like Vulkan. This is done by people who are developers. People.
Can I say I give something? What the open source is good for non-developers. Sorry to cut. Here in Brazil, I like to talk. Okay, open source for me is like cars. You have your car. You can open your car. You can change your spark plugs and change your tires. There's no locking from you had a problem on your spark plugs. You need to go for your Honda shop or your Acura shop or whatever shop and you need someone bring and make some magic and your car is back. You can yourself change. You can take your friend and buy some beers for him to change or to repair. You can buy bring it to the shop. Quality, price, and reliability. It will all depends, but you have that choice. My mom likes to say I don't know. I need to remember. I believe that Beery, that character from Woodpecker cartoons that try to install a carpet and break the house down in the process. My parent is more.
Yeah, the fire meme that people keep posting.
Yeah. My father is more or less like this because he likes to work with things. My dad was works with electrical repair, and it's on the vein, so to speak. But I believe that this is the main advantage with the open source software. The source is there. You don't need to change to mess with it if you don't want to mess with it. You can pay someone a beer for a friend to install your Linux box and set up everything. You can buy a system from, like we said, from Dell or for system 76. 76, sorry. You can download an ISO and buy and burn and install yourself, or you can buy for IBM, send some guys to make all the job for you, but the quality will change, it will be different, but there's the option, there's the choice there.
And well, see, and that's the thing. That's what I mean by making things morph and work in Linux for that. That's why it might lose relevancy.
Yeah.
If something else comes along, but like to Nate's point, I don't think it'll ever die. I think its potential relevancy will diminish. It's no different than like what you pointed out, Nate, like kind of like a BSD or something. They're there, they're important, but like they're not in the forefront as like a third option in the 2.0 race that we would generically run right now with Windows.
You know, like
Windows and
when I
Apple.
started in Linux, BSD was pretty much on par, feature parity with Linux. You know, people, and I tried both of them. I went back and forth a little bit.
You
And,
have my sympathies.
Well, it was 2004, 5 maybe.
Yeah.
I remember when I was playing. You know, I was still,
Mhm.
but I was also using
Go-Go-Booter.
HP Unix at the time. Yeah, I was. Anyway, I was using HP Unix at the time too. That was actually a very good system, I thought. But the also then there was an Open Solaris. That was another option. There were a lot of ponies in the race that have kind of
Gone away.
Linux just happened to progress a lot more.
For those that want an Open Solaris type thing, I think it's called Open Indiana, if I remember correctly. It is the continuation of Open Solaris, FYI. But I don't know. Like for me, I don't see it dying. I don't see it going away. Again, I might see it lose some relevance, but I think Linux is a tool that you can morph into whatever you need, as far as like from a software point of view. You can make it work with hardware. You can make it, as an example, Nate, you're running a Beagle board on Linux to play synchronous music with your lights.
Yes,
That is. Need I say more?
it's very practical. There's nothing impractical about it whatsoever.
Well, no, but that's my point, though. You can make, because of its nature, it's like an Achilles heel, but it's with the biggest strength, because while you can, it's not pre-made, but you can make it to whatever you need. There's
enough of a community around it that now it's pre-made.
For some.
I mean, yeah. I mean, not like a package you can buy and put it in, but you buy the bits.
It still requires legwork on your end. A lot of people just want to.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of people don't
And learning.
The legwork part. It
wasn't plug and play.
Well, neither was
what happens with this plug?
I was going to say neither was Windows 98 when they demonstrated that.
Well,
that was a move.
But like I said, I think Linux still has plenty of room for growth. I think it's still got a really good future ahead of it. If we can just figure out some of the nagging paper cuts.
Now, do you remember the flame war that was between Linus Torvalds? I know flame war with him. Like, why would that happen? With the other guy.
It was Tannenbaum
over the microkernel versus monolith.
Andrew Tannenbaum.
Monolithic.
With Andrew Tannenbaum.
Yeah.
Andrew Tannenbaum. Minix versus Linux. Yeah.
Yep. And what I think is interesting is, so theoretically, the Linus went the harder way according to Tannenbaum, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yet now it's actually by some people's estimation, Linux is no longer a monolithic kernel. Did you know that?
Yeah, because you can actually rip stuff out of it and it still works.
Yeah, it's not a hybrid kernel, but it's a modularized monolithic kernel. So things can be loaded and unloaded at runtime.
Yeah, because those modules.
It's amazing.
Yeah, because you can load module like, oh hey, look, this stack of drivers isn't in it. I'm just gonna load this module. So it's like here's a core with a bunch of like blocks you can just put on it. It's whatever you want it to be. So like I said, I think that's Linux's biggest strength though and I think that's why it has a much longer future and relevancy than something like Windows or Mac OS or any of Google's fly-by-night projects that they do every time. Because at the end of the day, how Microsoft is relevant, but how relevant is their OS? Because again, we're talking in reality, people aren't using so many of these. They're using more of these.
Right.
It's a lot harder to show somebody a video though on that little tiny screen.
I'm not. Well, that's why they have things like screencast and all that nonsense now. Nate's
Fine.
Nate's
Fine.
Like,
all right. You're right.
Nate's like technology, bah humbug. But no, like I think Linux has a lot longer shelf life than any commercial project.
I think the reason is though, if you like again looking at computer history, because it's not a product that is revolving around a single personality or a single entity, business entity, because it's like, why did the x86 platform become dominant over all the myriad of other platforms in the 1980s? Do you know the reason? Do you know the reason why the x86 platform dominated? No, it's not.
Intel.
It's because it was the only open platform. The Macintosh is a lockdown platform. The Amiga was a lockdown platform. Atari was a lockdown platform. Everything that was locked down died.
MXX, like the MSX, the main.
Yeah, the SGI, the Silicon Graphics.
Mm-hmm.
Now that was an impressive bit of hardware. Even by today's standards, it's still impressive hardware about how they could multiplex their workloads.
Yeah, that giant box that cost $500,000.
But if you got a bunch of boxes,
server farm,
they would become. They had this channel method where they could actually interconnect and share resources. So, but the reason those platforms died, or whatever, maybe they're not totally dead, is because they were closed. They're closed. You die. Only open platforms stay alive. So I think as long as Linux stays open, it'll survive. I think the reason people are not as crazy about Android is because becoming more and more unhappy with Android is how it becomes more and more closed. Right. The more it closes, the less people are happy with it. And I think for a company to see that, for a company to not see that makes them myopic. And I think that Google will probably be on its way out too. The more they close up, the more they're going to. Well, they're going to start losing relevance. So you have to be open.
As far as Google's relevance is concerned, I think you're right, but I think that's like almost like a microchip kind of ship to flag to fly, if that makes sense.
And also General Motors would never go out of business or need to be bailed out either.
Yeah,
I'm just saying.
Well, no, that's my point. But like, if you had gone back 6 years ago when Ballmer was in charge, if you had looked at Microsoft's stock for like the last 15 years, it was more flatlined than a freaking dead body. It was bad. And now they're on par as far as their actual value, stock wise anyway. They're at Apple level. They're $1 trillion company. And that's in no small part to the mentality that they have opened up. A lot of their stuff that used to be closed is now open. Not all of it. I will go there, but I think their development approach and their approach to more things being everywhere else besides just their one platform is an understanding of that being you have to be on everything to be anywhere. So that's really, and that's a hard pill to swallow for a company that spent 35 years basically bullying and beating everybody that was anything remotely to competition down. To have a fresh face CEO come in and look at it and like, this product line needs to go away. Windows Mobile Phone, that went away. When was the last phone they put out? I think it was the HP Elite X2 or whatever. It shows that they have the new CEO has a better understanding. And the problem is Google has gone the other way. They have decided to start closing up Android. So they've started taking away certain features and functions. And ever since their Don't Be Evil moniker, if you notice, when they lost that moniker, because it wasn't like an official thing. Like it was something that a CEO or somebody said at one point. When they started retracting that more and more and more to the point where, oh, that's not the case anymore, officially, is what they've said, that open nature and that dissatisfaction with Google has become more and more.
Right.
It's interesting how the love of money really is the root of all evil. Because they love money, it's their undoing. That's just the way the universe works.
And sorry, Vince, you're going to get a long silent pause on that call to that new Librem 5, or sorry, Libric 5. For those that don't know, I did a comparison of the OnePlus 7T, which I run, versus the Librem 5, which is literally a brick. And I mean literally a brick.
Right.
It is a giant red, nonsensical, no ports, non-functional camera, no screen, no charging brick.
So speaking of Librem 5, and I don't know, we want to
Yeah, we can beat
talk
on them.
about
I
other.
don't care.
All right. So did you see the Linux Gamers last video reviewing Librem 5?
Yeah, that look
I
of
haven't seen that one.
that absolute look of defeat in his towards the
You
end.
could see. Yeah, I mean, I liked how he kept it positive because you know what, I appreciate anybody that can stay positive in with all things against you, with adversity against you. I appreciate that. So I will give him credit he gets credit for that. So good for him. But it was a pretty it didn't look good, I guess. It didn't look good. It really made me think had Purism perhaps maybe concentrated on either building the hardware or building the software first, they'd have been better off. Like had they actually had a product, to put maybe like on some other phone or whatever that was more privacy centric and maybe worked your way into it as opposed to just going head over heels, both feet first.
So short version, and all joking and all serious, all my criticisms aside, I don't criticize the people at Purism. I don't criticize the actual workers at Purism. What who I criticize at Purism specifically is the captain running the ship, and he's running it into the ground repeatedly, over and over and over again. When you are shipping as even the Linux Gamer says, a beta product at best, that says a lot. Both your camera modules don't work. Your Bluetooth doesn't work. Audio, you can call somebody, you ain't gonna hear anything back from the other end. your radios don't work apparently, at least according to the one Gardner got. You're not FCC certified for the actual make calls on the network that you're supposed to be. Like, how much more? You ship a 2,000 milliamp battery instead of a 3,000 milliamp battery. Like, how many more times? And let's not talk about the software niggles that he brings up. Like, no. As an example, you bring up the lock screen. GNOME keyring takes over before you even input the lock screen code.
Yeah.
That is pretty telling of you guys bit off a lot more than you can chew, to me.
Yeah.
Like, that's basic functionality. So
Right.
if you can't connect Bluetooth, so basically these guys have paid now, as of 2020, an $800 MP3 player.
Whoa,
That's not even fully good as an MP3 player.
Yeah, because Lollipop.
that sounds good, because we need to remember that flash drives that had the MP3 function, they were a fever here in Brazil in the 20. It was incredible because they work.
Well,
Which is not the same with
no,
those.
no. What we're saying is
Yeah, I
The-
understand that.
the Librem as a product is not a product right now.
It's more like a concept, prototype.
It's a broken prototype that it's almost like what the concept cars that you see at like a Detroit auto show. They have no functionality whatsoever. They look nice though.
Something for the Shark Tank.
Well, I'm gonna be a little mean to the people who really love purism. Selling Eskimo some ice. I have a very low opinion of Todd Weaver as a CEO. So I don't know if either of you read the interview on Phoronix with the former CTO from Purism. You look at what shipped, and then you look at what, if you look at what shipped, and then you look at what's being said. Bluetooth doesn't work, calls don't work, or sorry, audio doesn't get placed through from the other end on calls. So you can't hear them, they can't hear you apparently. Whatever. Data doesn't work. Bluetooth doesn't work, cameras don't work. Battery drains in an hour. Like, you ship the wrong battery size. Like, what else is wrong with this product? So to me, when I see that, and when they say give themselves the congratulatory pat on the back, Todd Weaver wants his own likes to pat himself on the back. Like, then you look at what they've shipped, and then they announced a Librem server. Like, legit, can you finish a product? Like that is the problem. And
Right.
everyone rags on me, and this is me kind of getting on my soapbox. I'm sorry, but people want to rag on me when I've talked crap about Purism. I talk crap not about the employees. I talk crap about the guy in charge and the guy's track record as the guy in charge of that company.
Right.
And that is how you should be judging this company. I like the ideals of Purism. The guy running it with those ideals is just inept.
I can say I understand. It's a problem because people need to understand that. Okay, I want to put this kind of thing. I want to do this. Okay, you need to bring something that is usable for God's sake.
To Zero Theory, to answer yours, I do hope that they can Purism can deliver. But I hope the engineers and the people that are actually working on the product deliver and are able to make it functional for those people who did back it, so that those people are not out basically being beta testers at best.
Right.
What I am going to say is Purism as a company needs to have a hard look at the guy in charge of it.
I agree.
That's okay. That looks what. I agree again. Also.
The reason the Pine Phone and Pine 64 get a lot of community love and all the other stuff is not because they're like doing like, oh my god, everything. They are doing things in this weird one word way that Todd Weaver can't apparently understand. It's called transparency. Oh, hey, look, we're going to miss the shipping deadline for the initial Pinebook Pros because of this manufacturing issue in China. Here's why. Here's when you can expect them. And then they did this weird thing. They didn't have a delay. They had a shipping product after that initial delay. That is really what it boils down to. And then they've said what it's for, what it's not for, what it is, what it isn't. And that messaging is the thing. They want to build these devices with the community. Yes, and Pine has great prices. I'm not going to lie. The fact that I can buy their entire portfolio for the price of one overpriced brick, it doesn't mean anything to me. So I wish the people who back Purism all the best. I hope they get the product that they paid for eventually and soon. I also hope at some point Purism as a company and the employees there can look and see what is being done right, what is being done wrong, and look at what's being done right more often. And that, I think, will help turn a lot of their stuff around in the eyes of the community. Because there is good work going on at Purism. I'm not going to knock that. Like the ideals and the hardware switches and all the other stuff. Yes, Nate, you're actually hearing me talk positive about Purism. It's just usually the CEO that I'm in charge yelling at. So for me, they have made GTK stuff more usable on a phone, size phone factor, form factor. That to me is a really intriguing idea. But when you say you're going to ship something to the UbiPorts guys, how about you actually ship it? Don't say you're going to give dev kits, then like 8 months later finally decide to give them dev kits.
Right.
I was going to say the Pine Phone that is being demonstrated by, like right now, whatever that one's called.
Marius.
Is it dry sticks or brush or something like that?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Anyway.
Braveheart.
That is actually Braveheart. That's what I was going to say. That's what I meant to say. Braveheart. That is actually not really. You said you used the term beta testing. That's not beta testing. That's actually proof of concept testing. So there's what's called a V0 build, at least what we use in our manufacturing terms. Yeah, it's basically, this is a proof of concept. This is the idea. This is not a final product. This product is not ready for testing. Beta testing in a product standpoint is something that mostly works, that does what it's supposed to do. For instance, let's pretend like I would never take a V0 build refrigerator and see how it works in my house to keep my food cold. Okay.
It's not
I would never, no, V0 means we're testing general function, like how things are going to fit, a general idea of the look, not a final look, but like a general idea. We're testing these different things, and then that's a V0 build. What Purism sent out is a V0 build. Not the dev kit is even before that. That's not even a build.
That's a board and a screen.
That's so they can do. That's a development platform.
Well, no, that's what
right.
I mean.
Yeah. So anyway, if let's say I was told to bring a test unit home, which by the way, I have 2 test units in my house now, and I didn't pay for those. Okay, I didn't pay to do testing. Just saying, just throwing it out there, all right? And you know what they do? They're both keeping my food cold, right? If it doesn't do that one basic function, like make phone calls or keep food cold, it's a failure. I'm sorry. It's not, it doesn't, no, there's no, in no rational world is the Librem 5 as it sits today, is that a phone? It's called a phone, right? And the Librem 5 is a phone, right? And it can't make phone calls?
It's a giant MP3 player.
No, but I'm saying though, how is that a success? I can't, and I try really hard to see, it's a great V0. It's a great proof of concept, but that's all it is right now. It's not a phone. It is a proof of concept. That is it. That is all it is. And anyone who says otherwise doesn't understand product development. They just don't. There's no gray area here at all. It is a proof of concept. That's all.
That's
Good.
all
I'm glad
it
they got a
can
proof of concept.
I should rephrase then. What I mean by beta is the hardware is finalized.
It's not.
No, well, okay. The one that they are shipping currently, as of the same one that is supposedly supposed to ship at the Evergreen batch or whatever. Like whatever the one where like, oh, this is like the one with the final hardware, quote unquote. I know there's going to be an upgrade some point in 2020 supposedly, but like my point is the one that they announced, this is the final hardware version with the components that are in it. And we're not going to talk about the $2,000 made in the USA, except for it's not made in the USA because why do I have Wi-Fi chips from Germany and modems from India and chassis from China?
I don't get it.
Join the club.
I think that what you want to say, it's okay you have a board and you have a software and they don't talk with each other.
You're better off making your own Raspberry Pi fabric cobble together Raspberry Pi phone, which does exist. There's a kit you can buy. You are better off doing that than buying a Librem 5.
As it currently stands,
if you really want to be able to have like a hardware switch and you just want to kill that radio, you just go right there. Now it's done. I'm sorry. And you're gonna spend about $100 on that, and you'll get more use out of it. Because it already has the approved components for making phone calls and SMS, and it's gonna be a terrible user experience. But could that be any worse? Really? Maybe not terrible. It's all on what you want. If you want a science project and you like carrying around a science project in your pocket, cool, good for you. I like it.
As someone who made a Raspberry Pi phone, it's actually once you actually get used to the fact that you have a literal brick in your hand, it's not the end of the world, and actually can be used as an actual phone for the rest of your life if you so wish it to be.
See?
There we go. And the thing is, if you use a Raspberry Pi 4, that's going to be more than powerful enough.
Right. I have a Raspberry Pi 4. I'm going to actually use it for an SSH server, actually, I think it was a Pi Zero though, right? It's a Pi Zero that they have the phone kit is for, right?
Yeah, it's for the. Yeah, I think
I'm pretty sure it's for the Pi Zero, but it would be a way cooler if it was a Pi 3 or Pi 4 and you had an Ethernet jack on your phone. Now that's awesome.
Well, see, the thing is, go ahead.
Throw the Pi Zero and the Pi 4 together, and then you kind of have that.
Well, I was gonna say, because what you could do is you just might have a 7-inch phone and it'd be a brick, but get the 7-inch screen that goes with the Pi.
Right.
Just bring back the
and
cargo shorts, the cargo pants. You put it right there in your cargo pocket. You're golden. All right.
Nate,
sure, you're gonna look like a little bit of a doofus, but you know what? I'm okay with looking like.
That's
a doofus.
how my brother dresses. It
that
would be perfect for him.
See.
Nate, you make it sound like cargo pants and cargo shorts went away. I wear them all the time, so screw it.
I still wear cargo shorts, but The fashion forward folks, they'll always say, "Oh, why are you wearing cargo shorts?" I'm like, "Well, I got my keys, I got my wallet, I got stuff here for the kids."
How dare you
My-
like
whatever, my
fashion and
snacks.
functionality? It's supposed to be fashion and
I don't
not
really care.
functionality.
Who am I trying to? I'm not trying to impress anybody. I'm too old for that.
Word. I was gonna say I can't say much. But
Yes, Sleepy Vince, he says, would a Raspberry Pi 4 phone burn a hole in your face? Yes, that makes it even more awesome.
I mean, it wouldn't if you can build hardware partially, right?
No, just use a Pi. I'll use a Pi 3. I wouldn't
yeah, I
use
was
a
gonna say use a
don't need a
Pi 3B or whatever.
B plus,
yeah.
3D plus.
Or you know
works
what? Or maybe
best.
like one of those like small Pine. Oh wait, or but maybe a Pine phone. Huh, there we go. Never mind.
Oh.
Problem solved.
Just use the processor, the chip from the actual Pinebook Pro.
Yeah. I think the Pine thing, not to derail the conversation, but the Pine platform, because it's turning into a platform basically.
It is.
That I would say that's the one thing that really excites me. Oh, all right. Hang on, write this down real quick now. All right, I got my first prediction. I'm not saying it here.
Good boy.
It's for Michael. I got to say it for Michael. I got my thing for Michael now. Okay.
That's good.
All right.
No, Pine 64 is has the better product. Like, because Nate, the biggest thing when doing development for a product, wouldn't you say, is messaging? Like having a clear and concise message of what this is and this is not.
Yeah, for sure.
So like them saying, here's the hardware, you figure it out, which they've basically said.
Well, they didn't say that. It said, here are the projects you can work with on this. We are not developing the software. Here's the hardware platform. Here's what you can target.
Well,
Now
no,
go.
well, no, that's what I mean. They're like, here's the product. Do what you will. It's not a hard problem to figure out the software, basically. Like, but they're going to ship a phone with an OS. I believe it. Have they decided on what they were shipping, or is it going to be like the weird Debian version that they did with I don't think I've heard anything on that, but they're doing it the right way. They're working with existing projects and people who have better knowledge and not having to write stuff from scratch.
Right.
So, but anyway, I think we've derailed this conversation far enough from 2020. I don't short version. I don't purism. Get a new CEO. I think Pine phone, Pine product, Pine 64, better platform all around, and I think its product line is going to be the better of the two in comparison companies that are kicking around. And I think System 76 will probably launch something that will surprise some people.
I believe so too.
I would like to see an actual functional Linux 2-in-1.
Same.
Because I had a Surface Pro 2 that I ran Linux on for like 2 years, and it was the best.
Right.
And what's wrong? Where's it now? Did you kill it? Did you break it?
Those things, sealed batteries are a thing.
Oh, all right. Well, it just fell off my list of wants.
Well,
All right, I don't
okay.
remember.
In fairness, that's like a $200 computer now. So
Yeah,
it's,
but anyone. I mean, how hard is it to? I mean, I replaced the battery in my HP tablet from 2011.
this one is check iFixit because they have an actual teardown.
Okay, if it's not, I mean, I guess that if it's not too bad, I wouldn't. mind getting
I
into it.
know it's the typical. It's almost like the Apple approach. Unglue this and that and all the other nonsense. But I'm assuming you probably have all that stuff anyway.
Yeah, I do. I got
So,
heat guns. I got
yeah.
soldering irons. Well, I need a better soldering iron actually. I want one of those really awesome ones. Like,
No, 03. What I was
What
talking about, not a System 76 phone, but I'm hoping for either a System 76 with 2-in-1, like a Microsoft Surface type 2-in-1 from a Linux OEM.
Oh God, if if the same people who make Pop OS, like System 76 makes a phone, I'm going to cry. I swear.
Well, I mean, they do have the manufacturing capabilities, so I mean, it's not
Well,
like
actually, yeah, they actually do have real manufacturing capabilities. You're right.
So
I think System 76 is they're they're becoming more and more impressive as the days go on. I mean, I think that they are what to watch in 2020. I think.
They're one of the things to watch. Yeah.
I was gonna say, when Disney is using your hardware,
Oh, they're
Okay.
using System 76 hardware.
there was a stage demonstration a year or two ago, and it was running off a System 76 logoed laptop, and I was like,
God.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Okay, that's
that's
I was-
that's.
I was
that's
like,
good.
all right, that's awesome.
It is.
So like, I think System 76 will probably, if it's not Dell, who has the pockets and has apparently earned buku money in return for what they do. And I appreciate what Dell has done. And that does take balls, even though they have that Microsoft licensing spiel and stuff. They've stuck that out, and props to them for it. I imagine that is not an easy negotiation with Microsoft at times because of that.
I wouldn't imagine any negotiations with Microsoft to be easy.
Yeah, I would, because it would generically be, we're going to give you money because we sell your crap. But so System 76, that'll be there you go, Nate. Another prediction for you.
Maybe. I know. I got some things I'm noodling around here. It's kind of like rolling around
and
like a rusty bearing.
So my three things will be: PinePhone will be the better Linux phone. The OS2 chip on that will be more feature complete Ubi ports, and we'll see a lot more of System 76 than I think people are giving him credit.
Yeah, I think that's about right.
And I think with that, we've been streaming for like 2 hours, so I probably want to end this.
Wow, this time flies.
It
Yeah.
does.
I have fun.
Right.
I love.
Like, wasn't
Linux
it supposed to be
nerds.
like
You guys make
a
me so
like
happy.
you were advertising this
Yeah,
as
it
a
was like
45-minute
45 minutes an hour. Welcome to Linux
Yeah.
Welcome to Linux Nerds Talking.
That's just Matt, not keeping up on his promises, lack of transparency.
I'm
45 minutes, and you're
just
up
like
to 2 hours.
I'm just like Purism.
Yep. But would that be under delivering or over delivering? I don't know.
I'd be over delivering because I at least actually did what I said I was going to at minimum.
That's true. Basically, you'd be called out as a liar if it's like, we're gonna have a 45-minute stream and then you can't hear from Matt. And
Yes.
This is nothing.
Right.
Okay.
But then again, I think some of my critics would prefer that.
Nah. It's good to have critics. It means you've arrived. If someone takes the time to say, Matt, I hate you online, that means you've arrived. I had somebody, I've had one person make fun of me online that actually was, I won't repeat it because it's outside of my brand.
Yes.
It's outside of my brand. I'm not going to go there.
Mhm.
So, 'cause brand is important to me. And it made me laugh really, really hard. And I thought it was like, at first I'm like, oh, that's offensive. It's funny. But it's like, you don't get mad about it. Just roll with it.
Right.
Well, Nate, if you've ever read any of my comment posts that I've ever shown in my Telegram group,
Oh yeah, I've read them all.
for those that don't know, I get by on wit and sarcasm in my comments. So please continue to comment with some dumb trolly comment, and I will dumb and troll you right back.
I feel like it's, they say, don't engage them. It's just, you don't put the trolls out. You just amplify it. And like, you understand that and you just dump gasoline on it anyway, and actually I appreciate that. It's kind of, somebody's got to do it,
Well, see, the thing is, it's not even about like somebody's got to do it. It's more the fact that I just don't care. Am I gonna let okay? when it comes to Linux stuff, are there going to be certain people that their opinion holds more weight to me? Yes. Am I going to let some random douchebag with the handle of ass and hole online gonna ruin my day with some stupid comedy posted on a video about purism that no,
It doesn't matter.
homie, comment whatever you want. Like if it's not something that is of substance or it just makes you look like an idiot, I'm gonna make you look like an idiot. I've literally had trolls come into my own comments, try to troll me. I out troll them and they block me. That is how my comment section works. So with that, I think, yeah, let's end this. So I appreciate you guys sticking out. This is longer than I thought it was going to be. I know this is kind of all over the place.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
it was really
appreciate it.
nice being on a podcast for once.
Yeah, no, definitely enjoyed it. Definitely like.
Well, you know, there is Biddle. It's a
is.
family-friendly show because, you know, Matt is very offended by coarse language. So that's why Biddle is family-friendly. So if you want
Fair
to join there, it's
Vir-
every
virgin-
Saturday night
Virgin ears.
at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard or whatever the heck the East Coast time.
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah. So you can join there. BigDaddyLinux.com. Let's
Yep.
go there.
Big Daddy Lennox.
Great community of people.
It is.
Matt is kind of our drunken abusive uncle. He's kind of the part of the, you know, that he's that part of the family.
80 proof for hire, please.
Actually, Big Daddy Linux follows one of my branded Twitter accounts.
Yeah.
So that was
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Rocco has built a very awesome community there.
He is one of the best people I know on this planet. Actually, he's just such a good dude. You know,
He is.
such a good dude.
He puts up with a lot of stuff on some of those shows too. Not gonna lie. When you got the thing that you guys might like about Big Daddy Linux, like the live show, you got various Linux users. So like you'll have programmers, you'll have distro makers, you'll have XY, like you'll have all the range of like Linux expertise, new users, older users, distro makers, people who just use Linux. Like it's just so it's a really interesting experience. What they usually do is the first hour is dedicated to a distro challenge that they've done. So that means distro hopping every 2 weeks for those that want to do that. And the next hour is
Run a
usually
test machine.
VM or test machine. It depends. And the next hour is usually questions or comments. They've been doing more with the developers lately. Nate, I haven't been on lately, so
And I know it's really been bothering me.
don't lie. I'm pretty sure Rocco has probably been glad because usually everyone expects me to be the one to do all the swearing and stuff, and I'm usually the good boy.
I mean, it's good.
Who was the one that was on a big Rocco's spotlight that had to get the clown horde? I'll let that.
That would be your buddy. That would be your buddy.
Yeah,
Chris
no,
Titus.
He got the clown horde.
A lot.
That's more than I would do. But
Yeah, I know.
anyway, so someplace that you guys might want to check out, Destination Linux, obviously, great, DLN. Continue to use the discourse because it is the thing. It's great. I love Telegram. It goes by too quick. So use the discourse.
Real Telegram.
Discourse is a great place to use too if you are looking for something a bit slower in the responses that stays structured and not the new version of IRC essentially for Linux. So, all right, and with that, we are done.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate
All right.
it.
Thank you
guys.
very much.
Sorry this went longer than I